Hey everybody, Comic-Con John back again for the worst comic podcast ever. And I'll tell you, this week we are all focused on Jack Kirby. This Friday, August 28th, 2015 marks what would have been Jack Kirby's 98th birthday. Now, if you're not familiar with Jack Kirby, well, that's a big hole in your comic book education, and I'm right here with an episode of, I don't know, I'll call it the Comic Classroom. So for the Comic Classroom this week, Jack Kirby, what do you need to know? Coming up right after this. Alright everybody, Jack Kirby is easily one of the most influential comic book creators in the history of the medium. He is one of the major architects of the entire Marvel universe, and when he went over to DC Comics for a while, his name would frequently go above the title of the comic book. He was bigger than the characters that he was often creating. Jack Kirby loved to create characters that were bigger than life, that jumped out of the page at you. And if you don't know some of the characters that he created, I bet you might have heard of a few. Well, to start off here, I just couldn't go through his entire catalog of characters. It's just way too big. And so I decided to stick to Marvel, then I decided to stick to just heroes, then I decided to stick to just characters that I could find on this poster right here. Otherwise it was just way too much stuff to cover and there was no way to get through it. So I'm going to run through my top 10 favorite major Marvel heroes on this poster right here. Alright, here we go. Number 10. For number 10, I'm going to deal with a character that wasn't a big Jack Kirby creation. He created the initial Iron Man suit though, and so Iron Man right here on this poster does come in at number 10. Iron Man is a character that Kirby was involved in creating the Iron Man costume, but not Tony Stark and the rest of the characters. So he comes in at number 10, but obviously Iron Man, major part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Next, number 9, one of my favorite characters that you probably might not have heard of, and that's Ka-Zar. Now, Ka-Zar was essentially Tarzan for the Marvel Universe. He lived in a place called the Savage Land with dinosaurs and stuff like that. He actually had a pet saber-toothed tiger named Zebu, and he was married to another character, Shanna the She-Devil. And I really liked Shanna the She-Devil as a young man. Alright, moving on to number 8. Number 8 is Nick Fury. Now, Nick Fury is Marvel's very own super spy. So while Captain America is the super soldier, Nick Fury, super spy. He seemed to have a little bit of that super soldier serum kind of thing in him because he didn't age very fast, whether it was because he was close to Captain America or whatever. Headed up S.H.I.E.L.D., basically related to all these other characters in one way or another. Nick Fury, awesome character. Number 7, T'Challa the Black Panther. Now, Black Panther was a character from an African nation called Wakanda, a very scientifically advanced nation. He had sort of actually magical sort of abilities with this relationship to this Black Panther god, was a king or prince of Wakanda, very cool character, an Avenger, all kinds of different stuff. Definitely excited to see him coming up with his own movie. Right up here in the same area, we've got Black Bolt. Black Bolt was the leader of the Inhumans, a sort of race or species of humanoid beings created by aliens, but they lived here, but then got too polluted here, so they moved to the moon. Black Bolt was their king, couldn't actually speak because his voice would basically destroy mountains if he were to actually talk. But incredibly powerful, incredibly cool character, very regal king. Loved the character. Alright, number 5 is Thor, everyone's favorite Norse god, wielding Mjolnir there, and Jack Kirby was involved in that kind of creation. He loved these larger-than-life characters, and so actually taking a god and making him a superhero, why not? That's a natural connection, and he made that and made the character one of the people who helped make the character great. Now, number 4, fitting, is Thor, because it's the Fantastic Four. Now, a lot of people would put them at number 1, and I certainly don't disagree. This is just my list. Now, for me, we've got Mr. Fantastic, we've got Thing, we've got Human Torch, and we've got the Invisible Woman. Now, actually, the Thing and Invisible Woman are my favorite too. I actually think, and I'm not going to totally blame Kirby or Lee or however you want to do that for this, but I actually think Invisible Woman was way underused in those early years, and it wasn't until later that people really started making her a major character, because those force field powers, if you use them right, can be pretty sweet. And so number 4, Fantastic Four. Number 3 is X-Men. We're talking about the original X-Men, so you've got Cyclops and Jean Grey and Professor X and Beast and Angel. And so you've got that great, and Iceman, so you've got that great original lineup from the X-Men, all created at least in part by Jack Kirby. Number 2, we've got the Jade Giant right here in the middle, the Incredible Hulk. Huge Hulk fan for me as a kid. I loved the Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno Hulk television series, and there's a number of villains on here who I first got introduced in the Hulk that were also Jack Kirby creations. People like Absorbing Man that I thought was really amazing. Who's my number 1 hero? I'll tell you what, it's got to be Captain America. Now, Captain America was a very early creation of Jack Kirby, and then he got to help bring the character back into the Marvel Universe in the 60s. And I'm a guy who likes my heroes very heroic. And so Superman, Captain America, those are 2 of my absolute favorite guys. And Captain America is one of those guys who is a true hero's hero, a guy who always does the right thing. You got the cattail right there. Always does the right thing, and isn't one of those necessarily tortured characters who kind of goes back and forth between what's right and what's wrong. So those are my top 10 Jack Kirby creations from the Marvel Universe in terms of heroes. And I didn't even touch a lot of other characters that Kirby was involved with on the villain side, or even other characters like Ego the Living Planet, or Galactus, for goodness sakes. So if you are interested in maybe seeing some of those other characters, let me know, and I'll be happy to talk a little bit about those as well. And we're going to be doing Jack Kirby all this week, so listen to our podcast on Friday as Jerry and Colin and I get together and talk a whole lot of Jack Kirby. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. All right, check us out. Bye.